History often remembers Anne of Cleves as the ugly wife of Henry VIII, the one he cast aside after just 6 months. But is that the whole story? Was she merely a political pawn, or was she one of the smartest women to navigate the treacherous Tudor court? Today, we re-uncovering the surprisingly triumphant life and lonely death of the Queen Henry VIII, famously called the Flanders Mare. Our story begins not in England, but in the small German duchy of Cleves. Anne was raised in a very sheltered, conservative court. Unlike the sophisticated ladies of England or France, she wasn't trained in music, poetry, or flirtatious conversation. Her world was quiet, focused on domestic skills. She was so innocent, in fact, that she believed a marriage was simply about holding hands and saying goodnight. She had no real concept of what marital duties entailed, a detail that would later become a crucial point in her short-lived marriage. So how did this sheltered German noblewoman end up engaged to the most infamous king in Europe? Politics, of course. After the death of his third wife, Jane Seymour, Henry VIII needed a new bride to secure a male heir and, just as importantly, a powerful Protestant alliance against Catholic France and Spain. The Duke of Cleves was a leading Protestant figure, and his 2 sisters, Anne and Amelia, were on the market. The famous court painter, Hans Holbein the Younger, was dispatched to paint their portraits. When Henry saw Holbein's depiction of Anne, he was captivated. He declared he had never seen a more beautiful painting and eagerly agreed to the match. The stage was set for a royal union, but the fairy tale quickly turned into a nightmare. Eager to meet his bride, Henry decided to surprise her upon her arrival in England. He disguised himself as a common messenger, bursting into her chambers with a New Year's gift. This was a classic courtly love tradition in England, where the lady was supposed to see through the disguise and recognize her beloved. But an unfamiliar with such games was simply confused and a little frightened by this boisterous stranger. She barely acknowledged him and turned away. Henry was mortified. His ego, already colossal, was deeply wounded. He felt he had been made a fool. From that moment on, the marriage was doomed. He complained loudly to his ministers, "I like her not. I like her not." He described her in the most unflattering terms, a far cry from the beauty he saw in the portrait. Despite his protests, the political alliance was too important to break. The wedding went ahead on January 6, 1540. The wedding night was a disaster. Henry, already repulsed, couldn't bring himself to consummate the marriage. He publicly declared that he found her so undesirable that he was sure she was not a virgin. The marriage, for all intents and purposes, was over before it even began. Henry began openly pursuing one of Anne's ladies-in-waiting, the young Catherine Howard, right in front of her. The humiliation for Anne must have been immense. After just 6 months, Henry wanted out. He tasked his clever minister, Thomas Cromwell, with finding a way to annul the marriage. They used two main arguments: the lack of consummation and a supposed pre-contract, and had to another European noble. Now, this is where Anne of Cleves showed her true genius. She had seen what happened to Henry's previous wives. Catherine of Aragon was cast aside, her life ruined. Anne Boleyn was beheaded. Anne of Cleves wasn't about to become another casualty. When presented with the annulment, she didn't fight, she didn't argue, she didn't weep. She agreed. Calmly, gracefully, and swiftly, she testified that the marriage was unconsummated and accepted the king's decision. This incredibly smart move likely saved her life. Henry was so relieved and grateful for her cooperation that he was unusually generous. He gave her a massive annual income of £4,000, making her one of the wealthiest women in England. He granted her several magnificent properties, including Richmond Palace and, ironically, Hever Castle, the former home of her predecessor, Anne Boleyn. He also gave her the unprecedented title of the king's beloved sister, which made her the highest-ranking woman at court after the king's wife and daughters. She was essentially an honorary member of the royal family, free to live an independent life of luxury. She had traded a crown for a life of freedom and security, a deal that any of Henry's other wives would have gladly taken. For the next 17 years, Anne lived a peaceful and prosperous life in England. She never remarried, enjoying her status as a wealthy, independent woman. She developed a warm, sisterly relationship with Henry's daughters, Mary and Elizabeth, and even got along with his subsequent wives. She was a regular at court, known for her kindness and generosity. She outlived Henry VIII, his son Edward VI, and even her replacement, Catherine Howard. She saw the young King Edward's Protestant reforms, and was there to witness the Catholic Mary I take the throne. She rode in Mary's coronation procession, a testament to the high esteem in which she was held. She had successfully navigated the treacherous Tudor political landscape and come out on top. But her story doesn't end there. In the summer of 1557, at the age of 41, Anne fell ill. It was likely some form of cancer. As she lay dying in her grand home at Chelsea, she meticulously prepared her will. And it's this document that gives us the final, poignant glimpse into the heart of the so-called ugly queen. Her will was an extraordinary testament to her generosity. She left significant sums of money and personal items to all of her servants, from the highest-ranking ladies to the lowest kitchen boy. For many, she gifted them the equivalent of 4 years' wages, a life-changing amount. She also left money for the poor and for orphaned children. She remembered her friends and family back in Germany, as well as Queen Mary, Queen Elizabeth, and other English nobles, with personal, thoughtful gifts. However, the will also reveals a sad truth. The grand houses she lived in were not truly hers. They reverted to the crown upon her death. And despite her wealth and status, her legacy was fragile. She had no children to carry on her name or inherit her fortune. Everything she had built in England would dissolve after she was gone. She died peacefully, surrounded by her loyal staff, a wealthy and respected woman, but ultimately alone. Upon her death, Queen Mary I ordered a grand funeral for the woman she had long considered a friend and aunt. Anne of Cleves was given the immense honor of being buried in Westminster Abbey, the final resting place of kings and queens. However, her tomb itself was left unfinished for centuries, a simple monument that didn't fully capture her status. It was almost as if history, like Henry, had overlooked her. So, while she may be remembered as the rejected wife, Anne of Cleves was so much more. She was a survivor, a shrewd political player, and a woman of incredible kindness and resilience. She turned a royal rejection into a life of freedom, wealth, and dignity. She may not have won the king's love, but in the dangerous game of Tudor survival, Anne of Cleves definitely won. What do you think? Was Anne of Cleves lucky, or just incredibly smart? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this journey into the past, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell icon for more hidden histories. See you next time.